On this episode of Rock Down South, we chat with country artist Will Finley. We talk music and he tells us some fun stories and even plays a couple of tunes for us. We hope y'all enjoy. Let's go. Welcome to another exciting episode of Rock Down South, a show where my friends and I chat with musical artists and ask them the questions we want to know about. On today's show, we sit down with country artist Will Finley. He's another Georgia native, from Newnan originally, and someone I've been interested in chatting with for a little while now. We actually met several years ago. He went to the University of Georgia and played around at the Buckhead bars here in Atlanta before making the move to Nashville. He consistently puts out fun and catchy music, and I'm really glad we got to catch up. I think y'all will like this episode. We talk about his musical background, his latest single, Faith in Me, and why Hollywood came knocking at his door wanting to make a movie about his life in college. Sounds crazy, but it's totally true. He also plays us not one, but two unreleased songs that will be future singles of his. Y'all heard it here first. So without further ado, here's the interview. Will, how you doing, man?
Doing good, Mark. How you doing?
Dude, doing great, man. Doing great. How long has it been since you've been living in Nashville now?
I don't want to say it because I want to be here as short as possible. Because I feel like the older you get, but I'm just rambling on to say 3 years, almost 3 years.
I remember seeing you back in the Buckhead bars playing back in the day. I say back in the day, it really wasn't that long ago.
It feels like that long ago though. But that was, I hate to say back in the day. Just makes me feel older. I just turned 30, so those Buckhead bars are definitely back in the day now.
So let's talk about the latest release song, Faith in Me. And so I wouldn't say that this is a ballad because it still has some pretty upbeat parts to it, but I think it's definitely your most emotional track that I've heard you produce.
I would definitely say so. I've written a lot of other songs that have had personal meanings and stuff to me, but like being in a relationship now, actually it was my 2-year anniversary yesterday.
Congrats.
Thank you, man. And like over the past maybe year and a half or so, Faith in Me has become like Jordan and my song. I remember like we wrote it. I always say I wrote it for my girlfriend. We write it with, I wrote it with Mike Tedusco, Adam Scott, and Andrew Sheriff. And we all kind of take different things from each of our relationships and put it all in there. But after we wrote it, it started to kind of become the real life story of me and Jordan. Like on Instagram and social media, you're always putting your best foot forward and all these happy pictures and things like that. But it's not always like that in a relationship. You have arguments, you have struggles. You're not always where you want to be. You want to have a big house one day. You want all that kind of stuff. And sometimes you got to just remind yourself to slow down, just like realize that like your love is what gets you through all that stuff. And sometimes that down the road, you'll look back and realize that all those times are fun times that you really enjoyed. And that's really what the song's about. And but it's really become personal to me and my girlfriend. I remember like reciting the words to her like one night at our house. It made her cry and kind of became our song after that. So definitely my most emotional one. We went out and did a music video to it in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and got some good shots with us both in there and did our best way to tell the story visually. And yeah, I really, really have a connection to this song. I love it.
Yeah, it's a good music video. It's a good music video. And that's one of the things that I really like about you, Will, is that you put out music videos for basically almost all the songs that I've seen you put out. There's a good music video. And it's not like it was shot with your buddy's camcorder or iPhone. Like it's very, very well-made music video. It goes with the song. And that's one of the things I think is pretty cool.
Well, Mark, thank you for taking notice of that. For a while, I kind of looked at my view count on YouTube and was a little bitter with that. I didn't feel like other people were paying as much attention to it because I do feel like we do put a pretty good visual out there for the songs. And I feel like it is a must nowadays for each song because it allows me to, when I post on social media or when I advertise it and I have a really, really good, strong visual with it, it does so much more to attract people's attention to it. And that's what I'm trying to do is ultimately have people listen to my music. So having the visual to help tell the story and to help attract listeners to it is definitely what I need. and I love doing the videos. It's always a fun process. I need to give credit to my boy Wells at Well Media Company. He's the one who films all of them for like the best value you can get in town, and some of the best videos. And I think that we're together, we make a really good team coming up with the storylines for all of it and really telling the story of each song and putting that out there.
It's a good video. It's a good song too. Is that the 6th song you've officially released?
Well, that's a good question. I put out that what you can see on Spotify and everything right now is 6 songs. And I'll say those 6 songs you're looking at right now are the 6 that at least how I am currently. We'll talk later in 10 years and see. But those are what I think are good professional quality productions that I want to put out there and put my name on. I put some stuff out a few years ago. But what I didn't realize before I came to Nashville was the stuff I was putting out was demo quality stuff, and it was good stuff to learn. It helped me get into the game. But I did put some stuff out before. It's been taken down, but maybe one day I'll go back and re-record some of it. But when you get to Nashville, you write so much that I'm always on to the next song.
That's funny. And that is something that I have noticed about your music is that your songs keep getting better and better and the production value keeps getting higher and higher after each release. So the songs that you have out now are really, really freaking good and they sound really good in my opinion. So I can tell that you've put a lot of time. I can tell that you put a lot of work into those tracks.
I always am finding little things that I love to change. Like, and I always want to make each one better from the last one. But I'm glad that you and other people can see the work that I put in to continue to grow on what I've done before.
So do you have any plans for the horizon in terms of like an EP or an album? What's that kind of looking like for you?
Well, until people start buying albums again and people's attention spans increase a little bit, I think the name of the game is singles. And honestly, I think singles are getting shorter. We're getting people people don't listen to a song for 3 minutes anymore. You're getting under 3 minute songs now, and that's kind of the standard. And I put them out as a single. It's easier for me with an independent budget to be able to record them. I try to do 2 songs ahead, so I keep having stuff in the pipeline. But it's always good to I like to have put a song out because then I can put that out, get people's attention for a little while, and then as they start to lose interest in that one, then you're putting another song out. I've found in the past when I put out an EP, I put out 7 songs before, like what we were just talking about. And I feel like one of the songs gets a lot of attention and then the rest of them get kind of overshadowed, unless you have some major label budget behind you to push your album to the masses. But besides that, yeah, I think that putting EPs and albums out kind of right now is a little obsolete. I hate saying it as much as I grew up listening to full albums and things, but hopefully if I continue to try to put out right now, I can really only afford to put out a song a quarter, but I like to be able to put out a song a month. And by the course of a year, that'd be 12 songs, which would be a traditional album. So I just try to take the singles route. But I'm in the process of starting my next one right now, and well, not my next one, the next one, and the next song after that. So I've got 2 more in the works. I'm always thinking ahead.
Super cool, man. Super cool. So my next question after this one is going to be about your sound, but let's talk real quick about those musical influences you grew up with. Who are those influences that you kind of grew up with and kind of maybe emulate a few things from?
Well, I can't say I emulate a lot of things from the stuff I grew up. Actually, I do and I don't, because I guess it all started with probably the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and stuff like that. As much as I would hate to admit that when I was in middle school or high school, but like that's probably what got me into music, hearing some of those songs when I was a little kid. And then as I moved into like when I really started absorbing music, when I was like in middle school and like early high school, it was alternative rock and grunge. It was Nirvana. It was Shinedown. It was Pearl Jam. It was Saving Abel. It was Seether. It was, oh God, so many different bands like that. And then my mom always had me on Bon Jovi and John Cougar Mellencamp and the Eagles. I really had an Eagles kick. I'm now a part of the 1% of Eagles fans on Spotify, and I didn't realize that growing up because I didn't realize it was 5 different singers. I just would always hear these songs, and then I think what got me into it, like many people, was the Eagles documentary. a few years ago, and then I just got immersed in the Eagles. But my mom always had that all those songs on. I didn't realize that all those songs that I just heard playing were the Eagles. So I give my mom some credit there for that. And then it really wasn't until I hit college when I started playing guitar and realizing that if you play guitar, girls like it, and girls also like country music, that my eyes are open to country. And it was Brentley Gilbert. It was Brentley Gilbert with his rock sound that allowed me to break that ice and be like, oh, I'll give this country stuff a try. And then once I opened up the country, I ditched pretty much everything behind it, and that's all I listen to. Like, I'm pretty one dimensional. Like, pretty much listen to country music, some pop stuff here and there, but like I don't really like rap. I've never really related to it. I don't relate to my generation and their fixation with rap music. I hate to admit it. And unfortunately, rock, the genre that I grew up liking so much, I feel like it has taken a sharp downturn in terms of commercial viability in the past, decade or more, unfortunately. So I think country is what carries that on, and that's what I love about country is it continues to evolve and take sounds with it from different genres and different times, and that's why it stays alive. That's what I like about country. And some traditionalists don't like that. They don't think that trap hats and things like that to belong in country music, but eventually at some point back in the day, Johnny Cash put some electric guitars in music, and they were saying this hocus pocus electric guitars does not belong in country music. And eventually it evolved, and now Johnny Cash is a legend. So
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more, Will. So with that, how would you describe your sound? Because from what I've heard, it's a little bit more on the rock side than what people might expect. I mean, you don't look like a rough biker with tattoos and everything, but your songs like Hard Life can rock really with the best of them, those Southern rockers.
well, like you said, like the rock was what got me into country music. So I definitely have the rock influence. I definitely have a heavy pop sound in a lot of the stuff too, and sometimes even traditional country sounds. But I think it would definitely be a blend of rock, pop, and country all together. Would be my type of sound. I don't like to discriminate. Some people are like, I feel like the rock country people, like they would never want to be pop country. The traditional country people would never want to be rock or pop country, and vice versa. I try to like take all those sounds, combine them together, and find out what my sound's going to be in 2025. I'm trying not to sound like everybody else in 2005. That's the hard part about getting stuff done sometimes is you sound like a rock country guy and everybody tries to make me sound like Brentley Gilbert or Jason Aldean. And I do try to really reach out there and grab some stuff from the vast expanses of the pop realm to bring and pull in to not put myself in so much of a corner in the rock realm of the country side there.
Definitely. Your songs have a lot of pop influences, and then, of course, a lot of rock, and then a lot of the country. So it's kind of cool how you do all three. And I really enjoy those songs that you put out. They do have a blend of all of them, not just a couple or one of them.
Well, thank you, man. And that's what I try to do. I feel like if I can, like a song like Hard Life, if I can get in some of the fishermen, the outdoorsman types who might not like a song like Lottery, where I'm prancing around in Hollywood in a leopard print shirt. I will address that in a second, though. But yeah, I'm trying to pull in people from all around, and sometimes that can do you in. I did remember in advertising they say if you appeal to everybody, you appeal to nobody. But I feel like I do hone in at least on the country realm. Like I try to have a message for a small town guy or just a normal American, and that's what country music is to me.
So, Will, what's the story behind you selling your life rights to a movie?
Well, when I was in college, I ran the largest fake ID ring ever busted on a college campus in American university history. I say that with pride, even though it was a bad thing, but I learned a lot from it. I sold fake IDs with a buddy of mine and lived a damn good sophomore year of college. I guess you could say I made a lot of money, and uh, it's a long story. We could probably spend 3 hours telling you about the everything behind that and like why it's movie worthy. But there are some legality issues and a lot of stuff with it. And it's the rise and the fall, a classic kind of Hollywood sounding story. So I was contacted a few years ago, and I sold. I did an option, and I honestly thought like a couple of years ago they just weren't going to make it. Like it expired. So I got the life rights back, and I just figured on move on with my life. Like started a business, and like I'm not I don't need to hang back on waiting on some money for my movie. But they called me again at the beginning of COVID and renewed the option. Like, and they said they are pretty much chomping at the bits to make this movie. And it's I don't want to say give away too many details, but it is a Oscar nominated producer and director, both of them in the year 2020 were Oscar nominated. So not just like a small like nobody. These are some guys who I think could tell that story pretty well. So that is something to in my back pocket for years to come. But like I said, I started a pretty big online business with the guy I made fake IDs with. We do everything legal now. To anybody out there listening, like we sell mini splits, chillminisplits.com, everybody. But yeah, we do that, and then I do music, and so I'm banking on all those things. So if I get a movie deal later on, cool, that'll be freaking great.
Hopefully we will be able to see a version of you on the big screen one day, but that would be a pretty iconic thing to happen in somebody's
Yeah.
life.
I like to get a number one on the radio as a songwriter or an artist before that happens, though, just so people can't like go back later and be like, oh, it's just because you had a movie. So I feel like I've got somewhat of a time frame like to try to like make music and everything happen for me.
So let's talk rock music, Will.
All right.
This is the Rock Down South podcast. I know I listen to a wide variety of rock music, from classic rock to heavy metal to 80s rock to modern hard rock. So, what do you like to listen to, and what are you listening to lately?
Well, like I said earlier, I had a pretty big Eagles kick the past few years. Like if in terms of rock, I listened to a lot of the Eagles. It's not really heavy rock or anything like that, but some of my favorite bands in the rock realm, like I said earlier, Shinedown, Brick and Benjamin is huge to me. Three Doors Down, I loved a lot. I hate to admit it, I liked Nickelback and Creed. I liked those guys. I love me some Kurt Cobain, Nirvana. I love Pearl Jam. I love Stone Temple Pilots. Gosh, the list goes on and on. I love all the 80s stuff. Like I said, Bon Jovi, Motley Crue. I'm not a big Van Halen fan. Well, everybody loves them. But Journey, I love Journey.
Those are great artists, man. What about something aggressive when you want to get pumped up at the gym, or you want to make a sprint or lift something heavy? What are you listening to?
Oh, okay. So I'm the weirdo who I don't really listen to music at the gym. Like for somebody who is a musician, a lot of times I ride in the car kind of silently sometimes, and especially at the gym, I don't listen to anything. But I do remember playing football growing up and something like that. The stuff I would listen to get pumped up. I remember like Metallica would get me pumped up. Um, Billy Talent. Do you remember them?
A little bit, a little bit.
I was never a big heavy metal fan. I never got into that so much. In Nashville, a lot of the musicians I play with, they all had their emo phase, and a lot of them were in metal bands. I never had that phase. I always like wanted to be a preppy kid when I was growing up. So that kind of kept me away from the metal. But I guess as metal as I get is probably Metallica. But that's the hard question right there, because since I do work out. I try to. I get in stints where I go a lot, and then I get in stints where I don't go for a little while. But when I go, I don't really like listen to music too much. I don't need it to get pumped up.
So here's a question that you may not have been asked before. What is the worst show that you've ever played? Maybe it was a bad performance you did. Maybe it was a bad crowd. Maybe it was a small crowd, or maybe just a weird venue. But what kind of comes to mind?
I already had the answer like the second you asked the question. Like this is actually a funny story. I'm gonna like withhold names of the person. It is one person who made it this way involved, just for their reputation. But yes, so the worst show I ever played was at Tequila Cowboy here in Nashville, Tennessee. And one night I came in there to play one of my regular gigs. And what people don't understand with Broadway is you don't play with these. People ask you, oh, how long has your band been together? Like 30 minutes? Like you meet some people before the show. A lot of people all know the same song, so you can call up a bunch of different drummers, a bunch of different guitar players, and throw a band together last minute. That's just how it works. So my brother had introduced me to a guy who plays drums at Whiskey Jam one time. So, oh, Will, if you ever need a drummer, hit this guy up. He's solid. So I got his number down, and I had a need for a drummer one night, and I hit this guy up and have him agree to come play the gig with us. He gets there a little earlier than me, and he's talking to the bass player, and he was apparently all excited, saying, "Yeah, tonight, like, yeah, I'm excited. This is my first Broadway gig." And that was apparently the first red flag to the bass player. I wasn't aware of this yet. But then we get up on stage to play, and since I don't know how, I normally call out pretty easy songs, like when I'm doing 4-hour cover gigs to start out with, get us warmed up and the whole band tight and everything. So I start out with Luke Combs, "When It Rains It Pours." Boom, boom, ba-da-da-da, boom, boom, ba-da-da-da. And then the whole band comes in on that first note right after that. It's pretty easy, like, song for everybody to come in on, and it sounds pretty strong when everybody comes in. This guy kind of comes in just like on the hi-hat, like barely, just doesn't really know what's going on, speeds the song up. And I'm like, okay, and this might be a long night. He probably doesn't know this song, but we'll keep going. And so to get to the chorus, he barely opens up at all. Like, he clearly doesn't know where the chorus is. And I'm like, oh dear, this is going to be a long night. So then after that song, I kind of know, okay, so like it's Luke Combs. It's kind of recent. He probably doesn't know that stuff. He at least knows the standards. Like, all right, let's do Dust on the Bottle. Everybody knows Dust on the Bottle. So we go play that. Same thing. He doesn't know how to open up during the chorus. He doesn't know like where the stops and breaks are. It's rough. Like, I'm panicking inside at this point. Like, I don't really know what's going on. I already by this point have a text on my phone from the bass player saying, "Where did you find this drummer?" And then the third song after this second song, I'm kind of laughing like you are at this point. Like, okay, now this is going to be interesting. Like, this is like, you're scared for years, like doing shows this type of way, like playing with people you've never played before. Like, it's bound to happen at some point. You're always terrified. And like every other time you play a show, like you play with all these people and all these professional musicians come in the room and everybody puts a show together, and we all as musicians kind of mesh together, and it's magical when everybody knows what's going on. And that's how most of the time a lot of these amazing musicians in Nashville are. Not this time. So anyway, we're on the third song, and I'm just like, all right, Chattahoochee. Like, if he doesn't know Chattahoochee, we're in for it. I'm having it's humorous at this point. So I say, all right, Chattahoochee. He goes, what's Chattahoochee? And I kind of like laugh. I'm like, all right, train beat. And some of the people who might be listening might not know what a train beat is, but every drummer on earth should know what a train beat is. Like, it's a train beat. He asked me, "What's a train beat?" And I about lost it. So we play literally Chattahoochee by Alan Jackson in double time, like with like a swing beat to it or something like that. It was absolutely atrocious. And then the sound guy, after that song, I literally make them like play like "Can't You See" or something like that nobody should mess up. And I go over to the sound guy. I'm like, dude, like, I just hired this drummer. I don't know like what to do. Like, should I finish this thing acoustic? Like, should we fire him on stage? Like, I'm scared I'm gonna get fired. Like, we're not drunk. Like, we sound like we're drunk up there. We're not drunk. Like, this drummer is like screwing us up here. And he was just like, man, just try to get through it when you can. And they worked it out with us. But like, this was supposed to be a 10-2 gig. We had the place closed down by 11.
Oh wow.
So that was definitely the worst gig I ever had. And then afterwards, like, the guy asked how it was going, and I was like, dude, don't ever come down to a Broadway gig again unless you like know the songs. Like, that's absolutely horrendous. Like, it was really bad gig, but hopefully that young drummer learned his lesson.
Dude, that is a wild story, man. Oh my gosh. I cannot imagine standing front on stage singing and having to worry about everything going on wrong behind me. Good gosh.
It happens more than you think. There's at least one song a show that goes like that. Probably everybody can attest to, but the entire gig, absolutely not. It was very bad. Oh, but it's, I look back and I think it's funny now. I was mortified at the time.
All right, and I think Will's now going to play a couple of songs for us.
So the first song I'm gonna do is called "Thanks to You." I wrote it with my buddy Cole Bradford, and just did a demo to this today, so it's on my mind. So that's why I'm deciding to play this. Hope y'all like it.
They say a grown man shouldn't wear his heart on his sleeve. So move on right along when it's warming up and leaves. Celebrate your freedom, hang out with them guys. Never thought I'd be the type to break down and cry, hug a pillow all night, get my mama on the phone. Try to listen to my friends, but I second guess when they say I'm better off alone. Try to mask the pain with some wine and ice cream, flirt with someone new. I thought that's what girls do, but I'm doing it too. Yeah, thanks to you, yeah. They say breakup ain't supposed to stay, but it hits a little different when you hand your back that ring. People say suck it up, boy, but I feel like I could die. I never thought I'd be the type to break down and cry, hug a pillow all night, get my mama on the phone. Try to listen to my friends, but I second guess when they say I'm better off alone. Try to mess the pain with some wine and ice cream, flirt with someone new. I thought that's what girls do, but I'm doing it too. Yeah, thanks to you, yeah. Try to be tough when I'm going gets rough, never back down from a fight. Yeah, but I never thought I'd be the type to break down and cry, hug a pillow all night. Try to second guess my friends. Try to mess with pain with some wine and ice cream, flirt with someone new. I thought that's what girls do, but I'm doing it too. Yeah, thanks to you, yeah. Thanks to you.
That one's called "Thanks to You." And the next one I'm going to do is called "Picture That." I'm actually working on this song right now. I'll be putting out as my next single. Release date to be determined, but it's a song I like a lot. It's called "Picture That." I wrote it with my buddies Adam Scott and Bryce Malden. So y'all check it out. It's called "Picture That."
Summer of 15 last time night, the way you looked underneath that sky, I still hold on to that in my mind. I should've took a picture of that. Still feel those Friday nights, parking lot hangs on Walmart lights. Didn't know we were running out of time. I should've took a picture of that. Wish it was taped on the dashboard, hanging on the refrigerator door. Post it on my Facebook wall. You hear me, so prove it all. When I get that feeling, 'cause I'm reminiscing. You know I can't go writing songs for them. Come a long way since way back then. Should've took a picture of that. Wish she was taped on a dashboard, or hanging on the refrigerator door, or posting on my Facebook wall. It needs to do it all. When I get that feeling, 'cause I'm reminiscing. Yeah, no, I can't go back. Yeah, wish I would've took a picture of that, picture of that. Yeah, wish I would've took a picture of that. All those memories hang around and take me way on back. Wish I had them there in a stack. Wish it was taped on a dashboard, or hanging on my refrigerator door, or posted on my Facebook wall. Yeah, it needs to do it all. When I get that feeling, 'cause I'm reminiscing. You know I can't go back. Yeah, wish I would've took a picture of that, picture of that. Yeah, wish I would've took a picture of that. Yeah, wish I would've took a picture of that. Ooh.
That one's called Picture That.
Man, I really like those songs. Those are really good. Now, let's get back to the interview. All right. So these next questions are what we close with and ask everyone. So first question, what would you tell your 21-year-old self?
Oh, that's a really great question. I would love to tell him a lot of things, but I kind of believe in the butterfly effect a little bit. And I feel like all the things that have happened to me that you would want to go back and correct have also led me to who I am today. So I think maybe I would tell him who won the Super Bowl a few times and tell him like to play some bets or something like that. But besides that, I would let my 21-year-old self continue to live the life the way I did, make the same mistakes, do the same good things I did, and hopefully end up in the same spot.
So next question, what are you drinking lately? And if you don't drink much alcohol, it can be anything refreshing that you like to drink.
Water with a lot of lemon. That's how I judge a waitress. If they bring me a lot of women, they listen to me. But besides that, I'd say, I like a cold beer. Doesn't really matter. I like my Miller Lite, but I like a Mick Ultra too. I like a Bud Light. I like a craft beer. I like beer, and I like some whiskey as well. I like some Jack Daniels, Woodford Reserve, things in that nature.
On the rocks, neat, or in Coca-Cola?
Well, I always liked bourbon and Coke. I would say like that's my like classic like go-to drink, but I try not to drink as many sodas. So I would just say on the rocks would be the way to go for me.
Nice. So as you know, this is the Rock Down South podcast. What is something that you love about the South? And you could name a few things out too as well that come to your mind.
Well, with the word South in the name, I'd have to say the Southeastern Conference, the SEC, baby. Football specifically. And only really. There ain't nothing like SEC football.
And what team are you subscribed to?
Well, you should know this too. We both went there. UGA, baby. Go Dogs.
Georgia Bulldogs.
The Georgia Bulldogs.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Spent the 5 best years of my life in Athens.
I can't think of a better answer. That may be the best answer that I've ever had just because of the Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah.
But there you go. But thank you so much, Will, for being a part of the podcast today. Where can people find and connect with you online? And what do you have in the works that people should know about?
Well, I'm glad you asked because I literally spent all night last night randomly like updating my website so people can find me at willfinleymusic.com. But most importantly, they can find me on Spotify or Apple Music. Wherever you stream is great, but Spotify and Apple Music are the two main ones that I'm going to go for. Just search Will Finley on there and just put out single, Faith in Me, as we talked about earlier. I've got 5 other songs on there that they can listen to. And I've got another one called Picture That will be coming out. And another one that I'm just going to keep a little secret for now that will come out after that. Like, so I'm always putting stuff out, but they can find me on TikTok. Recently, I got into that at Will Finley Music. Instagram at Will Finley Music as well, and on Facebook at Will Finley Music. So anything Will Finley Music or willfinleymusic.com.
Thank you so much for listening to the show today. Hope y'all enjoyed this episode. Will was super fun to chat with and a really cool guy, and actually incredibly smart and very business-minded when you get to know him. We had a great time chatting, and I really enjoyed hearing those new songs. Make sure to go follow Will on all of his social media pages and give his latest single, Faith in Me, a listen. Also, watch those music videos on YouTube. They're really good, and I think y'all will like them. Check out all our content at rockdownsouth.com and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter for the latest updates. And as always, the views and opinions expressed by our guests on the podcast are theirs and don't necessarily reflect our own. I'm Mark, and you've been listening to Rock Down South. See y'all next time.